Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Drux Milan Unboxing. Today we have a special free treat. Right next to me is sitting the legend himself. I'm talking, of course, about multi-weight world champion, the Rose of Soweto, Dingaan Thobela. Welcome, Dingaan.
Hi, how are you doing, Jay?
I'm always doing fine when I'm speaking to people such as yourself. And finally, I get a chance to speak to you, so thanks for taking the time. In boxing, I always like to go back to the beginning. Take us back to when you started boxing. How did it come that you first laced the gloves up?
Well, I was one of those kids, from the dusty street of Soweto, who wanted to, defend themselves when being bullied. And boxing started being in me. And fortunately, my dad was a very close friend to my then trainer, Nomet Labane. So it was easy for me to get into a boxing gym.
Okay, and then you had quite an amateur career, if I'm correct.
Yes.
How many amateur fights? How did that go?
Well, I went all the way to fight about 83 fights. I lost 3 and I won the rest. And thereafter, my trainer realized that I've got huge potential to become a champion. Then he didn't waste time. I only spent 4 years in the amateurs and boxing, and to get to the top, 1985, then I got my boxing license.
When you started as a professional boxer, I remember following your career. I was still young, watching you fight all the time. You became popular very quick, and the name the Rose of Soweto. Who gave you that name? Where did that come from?
Well, that name came more about myself giving roses to the beautiful ladies at ringside.
You still are.
Well, I still love to do it, and because the symbol of a rose, it's love, peace, and happiness.
And then you eat him.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the first. One of the first big names on the local scene, who also had a bit of an international career. You fought there for the Transvaal title back in the day, was Vital Molefiane. We all know him as a guy who liked to climb the rod, very quick fighter, very awkward fighter. Tell us a bit about Vital Molefiane.
Very skillful fighter and very elusive. It was not easy for me to land my punches. You'd always make me miss and all that, and counters and all that. But probably I was a better fighter at the time.
You won that day, yeah.
And I was defending my title anyway, against him. I won the provincial title against General Isaac.
Oh yes.
And I defended it against
Vital.
Yes.
And then after Vital Molefiane, you fought for SA Junior lightweight title against Mpisakaya Mbaduli.
Yes.
Mbaduli was a big puncher, not really a boxer, but a big puncher.
Yeah.
And you stopped him. Tell us about winning the SA title.
Oh, that fight I still remember vividly, because it was, a fight of a cat and mouse, He was one of those strong fighters, and from Karecha,
Yes.
I called it PE at the time.
Yes, yeah.
So he was a strong fighter. Everybody believed in him. He went all the way from Karecha, which is PE, to Joburg, and he has beaten some of the good fighters by winning the national title. And I had to go to PE to go and get the title back to Joburg.
Yeah.
It was not easy, All the fight fans had faith in him. Tinacha, they call it. It was packed to capacity, which is the hall itself. It was packed to capacity where they were rooting for him.
And of course you beat Mbaduli, and then it was on the international campaign for you. And there was a sort of a rivalry, or I don't know how much of it was real or how much was the media, where Brian Mitchell was world champion at that stage, and you fought a lot of Mitchell's opponents. You fought guys like Daniel Londas, who would become WBO champion later on. You won a decision. It was a hard fight, that I think. You were Danilo Cabrera, you completely destroyed him. And then there was a Felipe Orozco fight that I'll touch on again. Was that a conscious thing with you and your promoter, that you going to do this and try and chase Brian Mitchell, or was it just something that happened like that?
Well, it happens in the sense that I was a young fighter
Mm.
who was growing into getting into the world of boxing, and I happened to be the same division with Brian.
Yes.
And Brian was fighting all those guys, when he fought them, and my trainer, my promoter, knew that I'm a better fighter,
Yes.
Um, I didn't think I'm a better fighter.
Yes.
I thought I can compete with Brian because I
Yeah.
looked up for him and all that.
You were with Tina Strydom then, am I correct?
Tina Stradom, yes, yeah.
Mm.
So Tina Stradom had faith in me, and my trainer, Nomet Tlhabane,
Yes.
had faith in me that I can beat Brian. We started marching on, and we called out Brian to say, Brian, come on, let's get on and all that. And it never happened. Our best way was, our best bet
Yes.
was to fight everyone that Brian fights.
Yes.
And see if we can be able to now, and we live up to that because I beat all those guys
Yeah.
going forward. Yeah.
And now I want to get to a Philippe Orozco fight, because a lot of people remember another fight that went the same way.
Yeah.
I remember that well, because me and my dad, we were watching. My dad wasn't a big boxing fan, but he liked you.
Yeah.
He always said, we're going to watch the Rose,
Yeah.
right? And we Afrikaners, we're not emotional people, the men amongst each other. We don't do this hugging thing.
Yeah.
We shake hands.
Yeah.
But that night, me and my dad jumped up and we hugged each other, because it was a hard fight. You were getting beaten, you were behind on points.
Yeah.
We knew the SA Boxing Awards is coming in a few days' time.
Yeah.
And we thought that probably after the voting, you might win the popular vote. And you were behind on points, and you're going into the 10th round against Philippe Orozco. What did Norman tell you in the corner? How did that go down?
Oh man, that was one of those things that happen in boxing. You get into the ring, and Philippe Orozco was very awkward. Tall guy. He gave Brian,
You gave Brian a lot of trouble in the
Yes.
non-title fight, so once again, you fighting him now.
I fought
Yeah.
him, and it was awkward. And when we got, and we knew that we were behind at points.
Yes.
And when I got to the corner, Norman, put a lot of water and in my head, and he says, "Listen to me, it's a kill or be killed situation now. You go in there, you do your best. If you can be able to stop him, that will be great. But we are behind on points." And that inspired me also. It made me, when I stood up from my seat of my chair, I said, you know what, let me throw myself onto him. And I did that, and it paid out.
And you knocked out Philippe Orozco in the last round, the whole arena up on their feet. Me and my dad in front of the TV up on the feet. And then we went for your first world title was the WBO Lightweight Championship. That was then still a new organization. You fought the inaugural champion, Mauricio Aceves. But the funny thing about Aceves is first you fight him in a non-title fight.
Yes.
You win it easy. He retires in a corner. And then when you fight him for the world title, very difficult fight, I think. Yeah, that was a much tougher than the non-title fight, the second fight of Aceves.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about the two Mauricio Aceves fights?
Well, the first one we signed for the title fight. When I left South Africa to go and fight in Brownsville, the part
Yes.
of Mexico. It was for the world title fight.
Yes,
It was sanctioned by the WBO.
but it turned out to be a non-title
When
fight.
we got there, I don't know what happened. And I still don't know today what happened.
Yes,
I was just told by my promoter, and they comforted me to say, no, don't worry. Whatever happened, it's not going to be a title fight. But I didn't worry about the title fight
Yes.
much. I wanted the belt. I
Yeah,
wanted the belt so much. But I didn't worry about that. I wanted to compete.
yes,
And I competed to the best level, and I won.
yes,
That gave me an immediate return fight
Yeah.
with the WBO. To say,
Yes.
no, he's the next best challenger. They gave me the challenge. They sanctioned the fight. I went to go and fight him, and he came back prepared very well this time.
the second fight he was a different guy.
Yeah, he was a different
Yeah.
guy altogether. I thought, oh, okay. But because I did not underestimate him, I knew
Yes.
really in the first fight he was
Yeah.
fighting good.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they said he had problem in Mexico or whatever. He couldn't fight the way he normally fight. But in the second fight, I was equally prepared.
but you finished it in style, you got the decision, you had your first world title with WBO lightweight belt, and you had a nice run with that belt. Not very long, but you had a few successful title defenses. You fought the former IBF featherweight champion Antonio Rivera here in South Africa, and you won that quite handily. But there was early in the fight, I think Rivera hit you with a right.
Caught me with the left.
Can you remember that fight?
It's a left hook. He was one of the best left hooker.
Yes.
We knew.
Yes.
When we looked and watched his video, we knew that if he catches you with that left hook, even the WBO knew because they were telling us if he catches you with the left hook, you're gone. And I'm sure, I think 8th round, if I remember well, it was 8th round. In the 8th round, he caught me with the same left hook that I knew about. You know? But he caught me, and I wobbled. I went
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
I was looking for the flow, you know. And but I recovered immediately because I was ready and fit to compete. And I fought him back. I defended my title.
And you defended your title again in America. You fought Mario Martinez. We used to, with you, there's a lot of drama. That was not the most dramatic fight, maybe. Not the most best fight in terms of action, but probably your best technical performance, I think, for just boxing. You completely outboxed Martinez. People were comparing you to Pernell Whitaker after that fight. And Martinez was supposed to be a very tough guy. He was unlucky not to be a world champion. He gave guys like Chavez and Azuma Nelson very hard fights. How did the Martinez fight go for you?
That was a tough fight. Yeah, he was fighting a very experienced fighter. A fighter that was in the mix with some of the best world champions. Even Brian Mitchell did not want to fight him, you know, at some stage. But when I was given the opportunity to prove myself against in the world boxing room, I said, you know what, let me go in there and fight him. And I was fighting him in his space. Where,
in his backyard.
Where there were Mexicans, all of them, and everybody had faith in him because they knew his capability. But I outboxed him, completely. Me and Norman, we sat there. We said, you know what, they have to exchange blows with him. Be on your fit, on the move all the time. Jab and move, jab and move. You know that language,
Yes.
Jab and move and throw the combination. And I did that. And I'm glad that the WBO did not, cook any decision.
Yes.
They, said it as they saw it.
And then you vacated the WBO title and you went after the WBA lightweight title of Tony Lopez. He lost to Mitchell, his junior lightweight title, and then he went up and weight, beat Joey Gamache. And now you're going to the Arco Arena, and we know that's a very hard place to win there. And we thought you won the first fight in the Arco Arena. Talk to us about that first Lopez fight.
Oh, that fight. Because Tony Lopez fought Brian, and when I was given the chance now to fight, I'll take you back a bit. Most of the fighters that Brian fought, I fought them, and I also beat them.
Yeah.
Right. Then we go to Tony Lopez. Now there's this big cake now. He's a world champion.
Yeah.
And he's a strong world champion at the time. And they wanted to prove that I can, be a champion too. And I was given the opportunity. Tony Lopez never fight outside of Sacramento. And I was, invited to go and fight him in Sacramento. And in Sacramento, I performed to the best of my ability. If you watch the tape, you will see that that was daylight robbery. I won.
Yes.
I won. And my fight fans, because they were in support of, all what they saw on TV, that, that's daylight robbery. They, helped me to be able to talk to the WBA.
Yes.
The president also, they watched the fight. And they agreed with us, and they said, no, immediate return fight.
For former president, the late President Nelson Mandela, Madiba watched the fight and he called the WBA. It's a nice side story to that fight.
Yes.
And then you fought him again in Sun City. And this time out, you won on points.
Yes.
But it was almost to me a closer fight than the one in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sort of like Aceves again. Talk to us about the second Tony Lopez fight.
The second Tony Lopez, personally, I fought even better than in Sacramento.
Okay.
If you look at my hand speed, if you look at my accuracy, I landed more punches.
Yes.
Tony Lopez was busted,
Yeah. Busted up, yeah.
Throughout, his face was cut and all that. So I knew that I won. If you look at the fight, when we took pictures after the fight, you can tell that Tony Lopez was bruised more than I was.
Yeah.
So that also, only by itself, it proved testimony that, from what I'm saying, I won the fight.
Once again, I was on holiday and I harassed my father to get us somewhere where I can see the fight. And we found it a screen somewhere in the Beacon Hour Hotel, I think.
Yeah.
And we watched you fight
Oh,
again.
yeah,
So you caused a lot of things in my family without knowing it. So then that was Tony Lopez. Finally, he had the WBA world title. South Africa was happy. It didn't last long, unfortunately, because when you got into a Russian called Ozbek Nazarov, and you lost your title to him in a rematch as well. With Nazarov, things just didn't gel for you. What was the thing about Nazarov?
There's a lot of, commotion along the line. I went to the state to go and prepare for Nazarov, and the fight got cancelled. I got back to the country, devastated and all that. Along the line, I was driving my car and all that. I got into an accident. It destabilized me. Immediately, they said, no, we're sanctioning him to fight you again. The fight was back online. I was not ready.
Yes.
Because I did not prepare well for the fight. I'm not going to take anything from Nazarov. He's a great fighter. He became a great fighter even thereafter. He defended his title against some of the best world champions. He was awkward, southpaw and all that. But I was not ready myself to be able to compete. And I lost the first fight. But because I knew that I was not doing my best, I talked to my promoter and everyone else. I said, no, I lost based on the things I just told you. Then they gave me an opportunity and all that. Now the second fight, yes, I was ready because I started training and all that, but I was struggling to make the weight. I had to squeeze myself out of the limit, and I was weak by the fight day. So that's how I lost against Nazarov.
Yes.
But today I'm sitting here and I'm glad and I'm happy I'm proud to say I compete against some of the best world champions. Thereafter, he defended his title all the way. He was beating everybody on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a side story there. You never received the WBA belt that you won from Tony Lopez.
Yes.
Have you received that belt yet?
Not as yet.
You're still waiting for that WBA
I'm
belt?
still waiting for the WBA. I've spoken to everyone who's closer to the WBA to say I want my belt. But yes, I'm still
WBA, if you are listening, Gilberto Mendoza Jr., please, can we get Dingaan his WBA belt? It's been a long time. You guys like belts. Please, can we do something? Let's move on from that. Then after the Nazarov fight, you go to England. You lose to a journeyman called Carl Taylor. Everybody's shocked. And then there was a long phase in your career. I call it the wilderness phase.
Yeah.
It was sort of like being in love with a pretty girl who's always going to cheat on you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's great, and then there's heartbreak again. When you win a lot of fights, you beat some good fighters. You had a great fight with Jaime Balboa, that was fight of a year.
Yeah.
Then you get stopped like Jeff McGreesh, lose a split decision to Willie Wise. It was up and down. He went up and weight. He lost for a WBF middleweight title in England against Cornelius Carr. I got the name, at least I'm not getting that old. That phase of your career, what was going on there? It was this down, going up again, down, down, up, down. What's going on there?
To answer you on that one, I will just say there's a popular line.
Yes.
Say in boxing, you win some, you
Yeah.
lose some. I think that kicked in.
Okay.
Because, I lost against fighters that I wouldn't have lost.
Jeff McGreesh, Carl Taylor.
Things like that.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
I would call them, which I don't want to be called like that,
Yeah.
journeymen.
Yes.
They were journeymen at the time, and when I got the opportunity to redeem my name, and they won against me.
Yes.
And that it was not good for me. I was not happy because I still was willing to compete at the time, at the highest level. But thus I did not give up. I carried on.
I think around about that time is when you started the Rose funerals,
Rose funerals.
but you still have today?
Yes, I still do the Rose funerals to try and help the needy.
Yes.
The Rose name.
Yes.
And giving the roses has given, the Rose funerals a strength to be able to carry on and be supported by all the fight fans.
And then the big comeback starts. Now you're fighting as a super middleweight. So guys, you must remember SA champion and junior lightweight, world champion, WBO, WBA at lightweight, all the way to super middleweight. Not many people, very few if any have done it. I remember Vinny Pazienza went that jumping weight. and you win the South African title from in a dramatic fight from Swan Botha. You know, I remember that fight was a good fight with Swan. Tell us about the fight with Swan Botha.
Fight with Swan Botha, I was not a super middleweight.
Yeah.
I was a lightweight. I just ballooned to the super middleweight. And, you know, Swan Botha was a man of the town, and everybody was talking about him being a good fighter. And all.
Yes.
And I was given the opportunity to fight as a light heavyweight.
Yes.
You know, as
a super middleweight.
And I proved my best and I beat him.
Was the weight gain a factor of that you were just not training or eating right, or was it because you were squeezed in a too lower weight in the beginning, lightweight, and your body just couldn't take it? How did that big climb in weight come about?
Well, you know, people say that I was lazy, and, you know, laziness kicked in and all that. No, I outgrown the division.
Yes.
Like any other fight, you called Vinny Panzienza. He started as what?
He started as a lightweight. He was a lightweight world champion.
And Pacquiao, what is that?
He started as flyweight. Yeah, he went all the way to junior middleweight.
But nobody's calling him lazy.
Yes.
Yeah, but
So,
you know what I think with my fight fans, which are South Africans, right?
Yeah.
They didn't know. They didn't have somebody like that who can move all those weight divisions. They had Brian Mitchell who stood up to.
We were used to guys staying at one weight.
Yes.
Maybe they come up one division or something like that.
Matlala stood up with that weight
And
also.
went down one. Yeah.
But me, I came in and I went
All the way up.
19 kilograms difference.
Yes, big difference.
Yeah, between lightweight and super middleweight.
Because if Sugar Boy Malinga, for instance, I've met him in person also a couple of times. He's bigger than you.
Yes.
You know, he was a good super middleweight chap. But then you beat Swan Botha, and boom, out of the blue, you're fighting for a WBC world title, very prestigious title, against Glenn Catley here in South Africa. How did that fight happen? How did it come about?
Well, it was good. Rodney Berman was part of it. Although then whatever happened, but Rodney Berman was part of it. Because Rodney, I think, had a good relationship with the Glenn Catley camp. I'm sure they spoke, but because I just beaten Swan Botha.
Yes.
So I was taken as a cannon folder.
They thought it was going to be easy. That's what you want, hey?
I was taken as a cannon folder, but that has given me to be a 3 times world champion. When they approached me to say, just after beating Swan Botha, they saw I made the weight, I've beaten the heavier guy from the lightweight, then they started having confidence in me that I can compete against the world's best.
Yeah.
When I say the world's best, Glenn Catley, he just beaten a guy that was very strong in the super middleweight, Marcus Beyer.
Yes.
And from there, his first defense was going to defend against me.
Yes.
So it was me. It was saying to everyone, no, go and just make money in South Africa and defend against. He's lazy. He's all those things. You know, were said. You know that I'm lazy. Glenn Catley will just push me out or thumb me even. Thumb me to get out of the way. When he got here, I think the first punch, he started feeling it because I heard him saying in the later stage that I was hitting him with I put on my hand wrap, I put glasses.
Yes. Those accusations.
On my hand wraps, I put glasses. I said, then it means I was hitting him hard.
And Catley also, it was all, like the Orozco fight, me and my dad jump up in front of the TV, we didn't shake hands, we hug each other. You brought for love, you did, Rose, eh? And you were down on 2 of the scorecards coming in the last fight, sort of like the Orozco fight, but a different thing. You also felt Catley's power, did you?
Yes.
You could feel it was a bigger guy, it's harder shots.
Very strong guy, robust, you can see his body frame, it's for a boxer, when you look at him, you can see, even when in the scale, when I jump on the scale with him, I realized that, wow, I'm up against him. But now people didn't know that I was training at the gym where they were all these world champions, Harry Simon, William Khari, Andre Dace.
Yes.
I was sparring with all those guys in every day.
Yes.
So that helped me to prepare me, to be able to face somebody like Glenn Catley.
And the last round, tell us about that.
The last round, everybody, as you said, everybody...
You were fighting well, you had your moments, but you were behind.
Okay, they say that, I was behind and all that. I dropped him even before the actual last round. I dropped him. If you remember, if you look at the,
Yes.
watch the fight again, I dropped him, and I was wobbling him from 9th round and all that.
Yes.
He didn't wobble. He was feeling the pinch. He was no longer fighting. He was leading with his head all the time.
Yes, yeah, I
And,
know. You came in with his head a lot.
Yeah, and we picked up that he's
Yeah.
getting hit.
Yeah.
And my trainer said, you know, in the last round.
It was Elias Chabalala.
Yeah, Elias Chabalala, you know, he was in my corner. And he said, you know what, you caught him last round. Couple last round because we dropped him. He's hurt. If you can land power shots and all that, playing like that. And when I jumped into the ring, and all what I needed, if you look at the fight, when he got dropped, it was just power shots.
Yes, yes. You clinically took him apart and ended that fight with seconds to spare, and the whole country was celebrating again. It was one of the most miracle victories in South African boxing, one of the most dramatic. If we compare your victory with Catley to the one over Aceves and the one over Lopez, with all the other titles you won, was this the best one or not?
Well, the Tony Lopez for the country, because everybody, you know, really was supporting me from Sacramento and all that. It takes a cup. But the WBC comes in very handy also because we just got the sanctions were just lifted when the president and the president of a country, which is the former president Nelson Mandela, and you know, WBC president, and they welcomed us back into the world of boxing with the WBC. So it's also an important fight because, you know, it was when WBC banned South Africa, then they welcomed them back, and I won the WBC. Not forgetting the WBO. WBO was the first. I was the first WBO.
You were the first WBO champion.
South African.
South African.
Yes, to win the WBO.
Yeah.
The second one is Corey, you know.
Yes. And Baby Jake as well.
And Baby Jake, yeah. You know, but what I'm saying with the victory, the WBO, is because we're just getting to a transition where democracy was right on the edge of where it can unite people.
Yes.
When I won the title, I was not only winning for blacks.
Yeah.
I was winning for the Rainbow Nation.
You had a lot of crossover appeal. You had black fans, you had a lot of white fans too. You were one of the last South African boxers, maybe that transcended boxing, but was a big sports star in general, not just a fighter, which was quite special. Then the WBC title, you lost it on a split decision to Davey Hilton in Canada. You still fought a lot of good guys, Eric Lucas, Mikael Kessler, borderline Hall of Famer, and so on. But that was sort of when your career sort of ended. You had your last fight, I think you were 40 already, when you fought Swan Bottas again, and then you retired.
Yeah.
Now if you look back on your career, what are your thoughts? So anything you would have done differently? How do you feel about your career? Because you had one hell of a career, as they say.
You know, if my career was well nurtured,
Yes.
I would have become multiple world champions if given the chance, because it means I had the skill.
Yeah.
I had everything that will help me to compete against the best fighters of all time. You know, Julius Cesar Chavez and all that.
Yeah.
You know, those are in my division. I could have Oscar De La Hoya. I could have competed with them. You know, unfortunately, it didn't happen. I would have become a multi. Now, I call myself as a 3 times world champion. People would have been a 5 times world champion. You know?
Yeah.
I would have been a 5 times world champion. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I'm not regretting. I'm saying to all of my fight fans, thank you for supporting me. They have made me, or they have to make me what I am today, whether I'm in business, whether whatever. But I haven't retired officially.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There's still a comeback.
I haven't retired officially, but I'm saying to all the fight fans,
Yes.
I'm saying to them, watch the space. There's an exhibition between myself and Brian coming up.
Oh,
Soon.
you've heard it here
Watch
first.
the space.
You heard it here first with Drooks and Dingaan. There's something coming up. Dingaan, I'm not going to keep you any longer because we all have to get dressed for tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. It was great seeing you, especially with functions we had and so on. Thanks for everything that you've given to South African boxing and all the special moments that you've given to us as fans. And thanks for taking the time. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
It's very much appreciated.
Pleasure seeing you. at the Brian Mitchell belt. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm glad that we started talking, and I'm sure that a lot of things will help in helping fight fans to know more about boxing.
great stuff. Thanks, Dingaan. That's it, people. The Rose of Soweto. Give our channel a like and a subscribe, and remember to keep those hands up.